Out of all the headlines to come out of the events of this past weekend, this is surely my favorite. From The Independent, it reads, right-wing blogger launches GoFundMe for AOC's Puerto Rico grandmother in latest personal attack. Actually, let me correct myself. That's not my favorite headline of the weekend. It's my favorite headline possibly of all time. And I feel that way even though it misgenders me as a blogger, which I'm not, by the way. Not anymore. Now, those who missed the show on Friday and made the good and healthy decision to avoid the internet over the weekend are no doubt extremely confused right now. So let me back up and explain this story from the beginning, and then I'll talk about the lessons that we can learn now that the saga has reached its dramatic conclusion. So it began last week when Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted out photographs of her grandmother's dilapidated home in Puerto Rico. Well, it was allegedly her grandmother's dilapidated home in Puerto Rico. She explained that her dear Abuela has been living in this squalor with a collapsing ceiling and buckets all over the floor to catch the rainwater ever since Hurricane Maria a few years ago. She explained that, of course, it's Trump's fault that nobody has bothered to fix Abuela's ceiling in the past 4 years. Now, I responded to her tweet reminding her that she's a wealthy and famous politician and that maybe she should take care of her own family members using the funds that she has personally available to her as a wealthy and famous politician. She responded to me, she clapped back, as the left-wing blogs put it, saying that she's worried about not just her grandmother, but the systemic injustices in Puerto Rico and society in general. And she accused me of being unconcerned, indeed totally fine with systemic injustices myself. She did not, however, promise that she would personally pay to fix her grandmother's ceiling. That was a noticeable omission in her response. So, a day later, I launched a GoFundMe campaign to repair and save Abuela's home. If AOC is not going to help her family members and is going to wait around for the government to fix the problem, then I felt it had fallen to me to do what AOC would not or could not do. I'm not judging her, though. I just want to be clear. She did just buy a new Tesla, and those monthly payments can be pretty steep. She also has 2 apartments, and she's making payments on those, so she's got her money tied up and all that. And so, I should probably explain that to Abuela and said, listen, Granny, I'm sorry. I got the 2 apartments. I got the Tesla. You've got buckets, right, for the rainwater. You'll be fine. Just make sure you change those things out every couple days. Now, right after starting the campaign, I, of course, reached out to AOC personally, both on Twitter and through email, to try and coordinate with her to make sure that the funds made it to her Abuela. She didn't respond to my messages. Indeed, she never publicly or privately acknowledged the fundraiser at all. Least of all did she thank me for it. I can't say I was surprised by that, but I also can't say that my feelings weren't hurt. I'm a very sensitive and emotional guy, as you know, and that cut me pretty deep. And yet, the fundraiser marched on. I wasn't doing this for personal accolades. I was only partially doing it for personal accolades. Mainly, it was about saving Abuela's home, and we made stunning progress in that regard in the space of just a few hours. Many prominent people in right-wing media, including all of the hosts here at the Daily Wire, as well as Steven Crowder and Dave Rubin and others, all joined the effort. And in this space of 10 hours, get this, we raised $100,000 in 10 hours. Now think about that. $100,000 in 10 hours. AOC couldn't apparently raise any money for her Abuela in 4 years. We raised $100,000 in an afternoon on a Friday. It was inspiring. It was tremendous. We were arguably the most successful charity troll campaign of all time. It also might have been the only charity troll campaign of all time. But then things took a turn. Around 10 o'clock on Friday night, I just gotten back from dinner with my wife, and I went to check the GoFundMe page, only to find that the donations had been turned off. Now, it said on the page, and this is what confused me, it said that donations had been paused, quote, by the organizer. But I thought I was the organizer, and I didn't pause them, so that seems sort of strange. Then a short time later, I received this email from the GoFundMe Trust and Safety team. This is what I read. This is what it said. I'll read it to you. It said, and pay close attention to the language they use here. Dear Matt, we are in touch with the beneficiary's family, and they have made clear that they will not be accepting the funds raised. When a beneficiary doesn't want to accept the funds that have been raised on their behalf, it is standard practice to turn off donations, then refund all donors. We recommend posting an update on the fundraiser to let your donors know that they will be fully refunded within the next couple of days. They'll also receive an automatic message from GoFundMe informing them of their refund. They will get 100% of their donation back 3 to 7 business days after the refunds are issued. Please let us know if you have any questions. And they did issue the refunds. I put $499 into the campaign to kick things off, which happens to be the monthly lease payment for a Tesla. We just chose that amount randomly. And I got the refund yesterday. I didn't want it. I'm sorry, Abuela. I tried. As far as questions, I do have some. Did Abuela herself turn down the money? It says the beneficiary's family turned it down, but we weren't raising money for her family. They have quite enough, it would seem. Like the Tesla, the 2 apartments, we were raising money for her. Since when can the family of a beneficiary shut down a fundraising campaign? And more importantly, why did they shut it down? AOC showed us pictures of her Abuela's home nearly falling apart. By the looks of it, she was living in a crumbling shack and had been living like that for years. We raised enough money to not only fix her house, but change her life. And we did that in 10 hours. Imagine if it had gone on for another 2 or 3 days. I mean, we could have raised $1 million easily. We could have. And that could have gone to Abuela, and then they could have fixed up her home, made it perfect. And then they could have taken the rest of the money if they wanted to, because it'd be their money, and they could have given it to a charity in Puerto Rico to help other people. We could have fixed up the entire neighborhood with that money. And it was turned down. This is real money. Okay, the money was not a joke. It's really there. The fact that someone in Abuela's family turned down the money seems to indicate one of 2 things. Either AOC would rather let her own loved ones suffer than accept help from conservatives, and not just her loved ones, again, but the whole community. The whole community could have benefited from this. Or, and this is the other really scandalous possibility, and I don't know if this is true or not. The other possibility is that she misled the public about Abuela's living conditions. Were those pictures actually current photos of Abuela's home? Was it all a ruse? I don't know. I mean, she does seem to have a history of kind of exaggerating her own personal trauma and perhaps that of those close to her. I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. But either way, whatever the explanation, whatever motivated Abuela's family to shut down the fundraiser while not saying a word about it publicly, the truth is unflattering to AOC, to say the least. We certainly exposed something through this effort. We can only speculate as to what exactly that is. And honestly, I am tired of AOC and people like her constantly using emotional blackmail and supposed personal trauma to score political points and silence opposition. We called her on it this time in a big way, and I can guarantee you she regrets ever bringing Abuela into the conversation. If that's all we achieved in the end, then I'd say it was more than worth it. But we achieved more than that. We proved another important point. Tragedy and misfortune are often exploited in order to push for government action. And we're made to believe that only the government can address these sorts of problems. But we addressed the problem and could have solved it in just one day through private action. And I have to keep stressing, I cannot stress enough, $100,000 in 10 hours. We could have gone to $1 million easily. And how far could that money have gone? Not just for Abuela, but for the whole community, if they had chosen to share it. There's a lesson here for those who are willing to learn it. Finally, most of all, we proved that I am one of the world's leading philanthropists. I'm like Bill Gates, except without the sex parties or the $100 billion. So I guess I'm not like Bill Gates at all, come to think of it. But I will now be throwing my hat into the ring for a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not sure if that's how it works exactly, but I would like to announce that I'll accept the award if it's offered to me. And I think we can all agree that I'm deserving, especially because the award means absolutely nothing these days anyway. So you might as well give it to a guy who trolled a politician by raising $100,000 for a grandmother. Why not? Now, some people I know may not be satisfied, and there are still questions about what we did here and why we did it. There are some even on the right who object. There were some on the right who were offended by all of this and let me know it. And there are some people still questioning. Was it all just a big troll? Was it a stunt? Was it charitable? Was it proving a point? Was it trying to solve a problem? Was it a sincere attempt to raise money for a cause? Was it mean? Was it nice? Was it petty? Was it generous? Was it hilarious? The answer, in short, is yes. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.